For 18 years, my son believed I abandoned him without ever looking back. He thought I chose another life instead of choosing him. On his 18th birthday, while helping clean out his late grandmother's attic, he found an old cedar chest hidden beneath a faded quilt. Inside were 214 unopened letters, each carefully arranged in neat bundles tied together with blue ribbon. Every envelope had his name written across the front in the same handwriting. Every letter had been written by me. None had ever been opened. None had ever reached him. At the very bottom of the chest was one final envelope with a short note from my mother. It read, "Noah, if you're reading this, the truth has finally found you." Before I tell you how one lie stole 18 years from a father and his son, let me take you back to the day everything we loved began falling apart. My name is David Harper. I'm 48 years old and have spent most of my life teaching English literature at a public high school outside Seattle. Every year, I watch teenagers discover who they wanted to become. I encourage them to believe in second chances, forgiveness, and hope. Ironically, I struggled to believe those same things about my own life. My greatest dream had never been rating books or becoming a famous teacher. It was simply being a good father. Rachel and I met during our second year of college. She was confident, ambitious, and the kind of person who could walk into any room and immediately become the center of attention. I was quieter, happier with books than parties. Somehow we balanced each other perfectly. 3 years later, we got married, and 2 years after that, Noah was born. Holding him for the first time remains the happiest moment of my life. I remember looking into his tiny blue eyes and promising him that no matter what happened in life, I'd always be there. At the time, I believed promises like that could never be broken. Noah was the kind of child who asked endless questions about everything. Why did birds fly in groups? Why did leaves change color? Why did people cry during happy movies? Every evening after work, I'd sit beside him with a stack of bedtime stories, reading until he fell asleep against my shoulder. On weekends, we built model airplanes, played catch in the backyard, and spent rainy afternoons making forts out of blankets in the living room. Often, Rachel would laugh and joke that Noah wanted to be my shadow. Looking back, those ordinary days became the memories I would cling to for years afterward. As Noah grew older, Rachel and I slowly grew apart. It wasn't because either of us stopped loving our son, we simply stopped understanding each other. Her career in marketing demanded longer hours, frequent travel, and constant pressure. My teaching schedule was predictable, but the modest salary often became the source of arguments. She believed I lacked ambition. I believed success meant being present for family dinners and bedtime stories. Neither of us realized that while we were busy trying to win arguments, we were quietly losing our marriage. By the time Noah turned 6, divorce had become unavoidable. We promised each other we'd keep things peaceful for his sake. During mediation, the judge approved shared parenting. Noah would live primarily with Rachel, but I would have every other weekend, Wednesday evenings, holidays, and unlimited phone calls. Walking out of the courthouse that day hurt more than anything I'd ever experienced. But I kept reminding myself of one thing. No matter what happened between Rachel and me, I'd still be Noah's father. The first weekend I was supposed to pick Noah up, Rachel called an hour before I arrived. "He's not feeling well, maybe next weekend." I understood. Children get sick. The following visit was canceled because Noah supposedly had a birthday party. Then came a school project, then a soccer tournament, then a family trip. Every excuse sounded reasonable by itself. Together, they slowly became a wall I couldn't climb. Weeks turned into months before I realized I hadn't spent a single weekend alone with my son. I tried calling Noah every evening. Most of the time, the calls went straight to voicemail. Occasionally, Rachel answered and told me he was asleep, busy, or didn't want to talk. I mailed birthday presents, Christmas gifts, and handwritten cards. Nearly all of them came back unopened, with "return to sender" stamped across the front. Every returned package felt like another small piece of my heart being mailed back to me. One evening, my mother quietly placed a blank notebook in front of me while we were having dinner. She looked at me with the kind of wisdom only mothers seem to have. "If Noah can't hear your voice today," she said softly, "make sure he can hear your voice someday." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She smiled gently. "Write to him. every month. Tell him about your life, tell him about his life, tell him everything you wish you could say if he were sitting right in front of you. That night, I wrote my very first letter. Dear Noah, I began. Today you turned 7. I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I want you to know I spent the afternoon baking the chocolate cake you always loved. I burnt the first one exactly like we used to laugh about. I hope wherever you are today, someone remembered to put extra sprinkles on your cake. When I finished writing, I slipped the envelope into an envelope, carefully addressed it, and mailed it the next morning. A month later, I wrote another, then another. Sometimes I wrote about the books I was reading, hoping we'd discuss them one day. Sometimes I described the baseball games I wish we'd attended together. I told him about the stray golden retriever that had started visiting my backyard every afternoon. I even wrote about mistakes I'd made as a father, apologizing for every harsh word and every missed opportunity. I never knew whether the letters reached him. I simply couldn't stop writing. Years passed. Noah became 10, then 12, then 15. His birthday photographs occasionally appeared on social media through distant relatives. Every picture reminded me how much time I had lost. I watched him grow taller through photographs instead of real life. I saw braces appear and later disappear. I watched him become a young man without ever hearing the sound of his voice. Yet every single month, without fail, I sat at the same wooden desk, opened a fresh notebook page, and wrote another letter. Then, 6 months before Noah's 18th birthday, my mother passed away peacefully in her sleep. After the funeral, Rachel asked Noah to help clear out grandmother's attic before the house was sold. While moving old furniture, Noah noticed an old cedar chest tucked beneath a faded quilt. It had a small brass lock. The key was taped to the bottom. He slowly opened the lid. Inside were 214 unopened letters, every one of them addressed to him. Noah stared at the cedar chest for several long moments before reaching inside. The envelopes were arranged in perfect order, each bundle tied neatly with faded blue ribbon. On the very first envelope was written, "To Noah, on your 7th birthday." He slowly turned it over. The seal had never been broken. His hands began to shake as he carefully unfolded the yellowed paper inside. Dear Noah, happy 7th birthday, buddy. I baked your favorite chocolate cake today. I burned the first one just like we used to laugh about together. I don't know if you'll ever read this letter, but I hope someone remembered to put extra sprinkles on your cake. I bought you the baseball glove you pointed at in the store last month. I don't know if you'll ever receive it, but I'll keep hoping. No matter what anyone tells you, I have never stopped loving you. Love, Dad. By the time Noah finished reading, tears had already begun rolling down his face. He reached for another letter, then another. One had been written after his first day of middle school, another after his 13th birthday, another after his first high school football game. My letters described moments I had never actually witnessed. I imagined them instead, hoping one day he'd read my words and know I had been thinking about him every single month. Some letters were filled with encouragement. Others were apologies. Some simply said, "I miss you today more than yesterday." Every page carried the same closing. "I'll never stop being your dad." At the very bottom of the chest lay one final envelope, different from all the others. It was addressed in my mother's handwriting. For Noah, only open on your 18th birthday. With trembling hands, he unfolded the letter. My dear Noah, if you found this box, then I'm no longer here to explain why I kept these letters. Your father mailed every single one of them. Some arrived at my house after being returned. Others were given to me because he believed they might be safer with me than disappearing forever. I begged him not to lose hope. He never did. Your father never abandoned you. He fought for you until he realized that every battle was hurting you even more. One day, you'll have to decide what kind of man you want to become. Before you judge your father, read every letter. Then decide for yourself. Love, Grandma. Noah sat alone in the attic for hours. As the afternoon sunlight slowly moved across the wooden floor, he read letter after letter. I discovered that I had celebrated every birthday from a distance. I had written after every Christmas, every graduation, every milestone I imagined he might be experiencing. In one letter, I admitted how much I regretted our family's divorce. In another, I apologized for not finding a way to reach him sooner. I never blamed Rachel. I never spoke badly about her. I simply wrote about how much I loved my son and hoped one day he'd understand. That evening, Noah walked downstairs carrying the entire cedar chest. Rachel looked up from the kitchen table and immediately noticed the tears in his eyes. "Where did you find that?" she asked quietly. "In Grandma's attic." Her face turned pale. Noah placed one of my letters gently on the table, then another, until dozens of unopened envelopes covered the kitchen. He looked directly into his mother's eyes. "Did you know about these?" Rachel didn't answer. He asked again, this time louder. "Mom, did you know?" After several painful seconds, she slowly nodded. Tears filled Rachel's eyes. "I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" Noah whispered. She covered her face with both hands before speaking. "I was afraid that if you kept seeing your father, one day you'd choose him instead of me." The room fell completely silent. 18 years! You let me believe he never wanted me. Rachel quietly broke down crying. "I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." Noah didn't yell. He didn't argue. He simply picked up the cedar chest, carried it to his car, and drove away. 3 hours later, someone knocked on my front door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, a young man stood silently on my porch. He looked so much like the little boy I remembered that for a moment I forgot how to breathe. His blue eyes filled with tears. "So," I whispered. "Noah?" He nodded. Neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. Then he quietly held up the first letter. "I finally got your birthday card, Dad." I couldn't stop the tears anymore. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around my son for the first time in 18 years. Neither of us cared who saw us. Neither of us wanted to let go. After several minutes, Noah smiled through his tears. "You wrote me every month." I laughed softly. "I was hoping one day you'd read at least one." He looked at the cedar chest sitting beside the front door. "I think I'm going to read every single one." I smiled. "We'll read them together." Every Sunday afternoon after that, Noah came to my house carrying another bundle of letters. Sometimes we laughed. Sometimes we cried. Sometimes we'd stop reading altogether because one memory led to another conversation we'd waited 18 years to have. We couldn't get those lost years back, but we could make sure we never lost another one. Looking back now, I understand something I wish I'd known much earlier. The truth may arrive late, sometimes painfully late, but when love is real, it has an incredible way of surviving even the longest silence. A lie stole 18 years from my son and me, but it couldn't erase the love that filled every one of those 214 letters. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments. If you were Noah, would you forgive your mother after discovering the truth? And if you enjoy emotional family stories filled with hope, forgiveness, and unforgettable life lessons, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more heartfelt storytelling every week. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.